Before we get to your sophomore year, your junior year, any game memories you could share that were kind of fun, exciting, disappointing?
Of which year do you
Your
you're
sophomore
referring to
year.
here?
I mean, you guys played in the holiday festival, so that was actually the first time you played in the Garden as a sophomore.
Yeah, and we had played, in the NIT, so we're somewhat, well, or sophomore year, right? So playing in
That's
the Garden was an experience by itself. Just a vast location, no shooting background, just a fun place to play. I loved it. John Condon was the announcer, and he would always say my name, Schaeffer, and he'd always say Schaeffer with a little bit of a wisp, which was well, that's pretty cool. So just the greatest place to play.
And by the way, you grew up. It was the old Garden. This was the new Garden when you were playing at St. John's. You were probably used to the old Garden. When you were at St. John's, the new Garden had already been built.
Actually, I played in the old Garden in high school.
Okay.
And we would play various teams. My senior year, we played Chaminade High School, and we beat them. We had a great game. I'm walking off the court, and into the shadows of the old Garden, and I hear a few people yelling out, "Hey, number 50, great game!" I said, "Who the heck is that?" Well, it was the Boston Celtics ready to come on to play the evening game.
Wow.
And here they are, one of my favorite teams. And, there they are giving me some kudos. So what was better than that?
Yeah, that's a big thrill. That's a big thrill. Um, by the way, in the holiday festival, I'm pretty sure I was there that year because I remember watching Ernie DiGregorio play, um, and I remember him as a sophomore. Um, and you talk about John Gordon, uh, um, Condon, John
John
Condon,
Condon,
right?
yeah,
So I remember him saying, and that was Ernie DiGregorio. Scored the
yeah.
goal. That was Ernie DiGregorio. And I'm saying, who's this? Who's this Ernie DiGregorio? I don't know if it was 70 or maybe 69, but it was his breakout time in the holiday festival as a sophomore, and obviously he wound up having a wonderful career.
Yeah, so I knew him from high school, and he was always breaking out. He was a great player in high school, highly recruited, and so there was not a huge surprise that he was going to be, on the scene.
By the way, you talked about maybe going to Providence when you recruited. Did you know Mike Reardon, who went to Holy Cross before you?
So Mike Reardon is, I guess most of the time he would come down was our junior and senior years. So he's on the Knicks, and he had Army Reserve duty during that time. We would practice at Holy Cross from 3 to 6, and at 6 o'clock they would be banging at the back door of the gym, and we all say to each other, "Uh-oh, uh, that's probably Reardon." And sure enough, it was Reardon. And he would come in and he'd say, "Where are you guys going?" Nope, you're not going anywhere. And then we'd have to play one-on-one full court with him to keep him in shape so he could maintain his Nick form.
So that must have been a bit of a thrill, you know.
He would beat the daylights out of us. So he was a tough, great player, developed from Holy Cross High School into Providence, and he was a self-made man, and he was tough. And we didn't like it, but we learned from it, and we appreciated, him making us better. Just without us really, knowing or liking it. So,
All right. So let's go to your junior year at St. John's. But by the way, what did you guys typically do in the summers between seasons?
we'd play all the time. St. John's was almost the hotbed of basketball in the summertime. And it wasn't even the main gym. We had an auxiliary gym at St. John's University, which was this smaller court, almost totally encased with walls. And the best basketball was played there. The Knicks would come down, Phil Jackson, Bill Bradley, Reardon, a lot of players from all over the country back home. They'd all show up, and it was a situation where you didn't want to lose because if you lost, you'd be sitting around for a while, or you'd go into the main gym and play 3-on-3 or shoot around in there. So that's where you got better in the summertime.
Interesting. Wow. Did were there any basketball camps that you'd go to during those years?
Not really. That was basically camp.
Gotcha.
We'd play in some summer leagues, but the everyday getting better, lifting weights and all of that took place right on the campus.
Gotcha. So you beginning your junior year, I found a Sports Illustrated article that um, preseason ranked all the teams, and they had St. John's ranked number 19 before your junior year.
Yeah.
Um, what was the feeling going into your junior year? And now you got Eddie Searcy, who's a ferocious rebounder. Um, are you guys thinking, hey, this is going to be our year? Does Mulzoff change anything? Um, what's the outlook like?
Um, So again, coming off a pretty good year, the year before. So again, NIT was pretty good. Mel Davis, let's mention Mel because he was the lead guy on our squad. He was a great player from Boys High. So he's getting better. Greg Cluse is on the team of the Cluse brothers. So again, we were getting better, and we expected more. And it was almost okay. Let's see where this year can take us.
Does Malzoff change anything? Is it same stuff as usual?
Um, no, we used to press a little bit. Richie Lyons and Mike Kilty were really good defenders. So sometimes when required, we put a little press on or even a half court press. So I don't think much changed. We liked the style again. And we just felt as if a year later, we're getting better.
Well, you guys are 19 and 11. Again, another really good year. You actually win a. They called it the Lobo Classic down, I
Yes,
guess, was in New Mexico.
New Mexico, yeah.
What was that like?
Well, we were not expected to win that tournament. In fact, I forget the name of the place where we would play in New Mexico, but I think it was referred to as the pit, and it was totally below ground, and they had huge amounts of fan support, and they did not like the fact that we won. And almost to the point of how are we getting out of here? So I remember when we won the tournament. Things were a little dicey. We got into our bus and we were pulling out, and they were not happy that we won that tournament.
um, okay, you guys. I don't think you played in the holiday festival that year. Um,
No.
um, and like you said, I know. Yeah, I mean Mel Davis was awesome. Didn't mean to not talk about him. I mean you, him, Searcy, Larry Jenkins, Richie. I mean Greg Clues. I mean you guys had really good teams. All right, and the reality was, Frank Mulzoff just basically continued the winning tradition of Lapchick, of Lou Carnesecca. Um, so it seemed to me like it's things are just kind of the same. Nothing's really changed except the way you guys are playing. And and listen, Carnesecca had great years the 5 years he was there, um, and it seems like things are just going the same way. So you make the NIT again. Um,
Yeah.
any disappointment this time not making the NCAA?
Yeah, I think that that was more um, from our last discussion of the prior year. Now we're 2 years into our, at least in my class, we're 2 years into it. We're getting closer, and we're getting better as a team. And again, we miss out. And again, I don't recall the exact number of NCAA teams that get in, but again, it was extremely tight. And it was really just a major disappointment that we didn't make it again.
So again, it
Much
was
more
20.
so than, from what I recall, my sophomore year, because it was almost, well, okay, that's understandable. NIT, here we come. But this year it's the NIT, and oh boy, another miss.
I'm just looking at the and so and you have 17 points a game, um, you know, 6 rebounds a game. I mean, it's a really good team. Um, and by the way, again, there were 25 teams that year in the
Yeah,
NCAA. Um, there were again only 8 independents got in because you guys weren't in a conference then, and the teams that were in the East region were Villanova, South Carolina, and Providence that year.
yeah.
So it's probably I could see that was disappointing.
And those were no slouch squads.
Right.
So, and the other disappointment of the NIT then was Mel got hurt that in the Oral Roberts game, and that was a, even though we won the game, uh, he was out, and
Right.
he badly hurt his knee. So we knew he was out for the rest of the tournament, and actually, he was out for the entire next year as well.
It's interesting because I remember there was talk that had he not gotten hurt, he may have gone hardship in the NBA draft, so he may not have returned anyway. Um,
Possible.
you know. Um, so anyway, so the senior year, Mel Davis is out, which is really a huge blow. Um, but you guys, again, you have a really good year and you make the NCAA tournament. First of all, again, let's talk about Coach Malzoff. He's doing a great job. Um, are things different going into the senior year? I mean, you don't have Mel Davis, which is a huge loss. Um, but I think you're still ranked. You wind up ranked nationally, maybe in the top 15 by the end of the year. You make the NCAA tournament. Do things change style wise because Mel's out? Are things different that year the way you play?
Yeah, well, two things. Mel was a great rebounder. So we all had to figure out, okay, we're losing Mel's scoring and we're losing his rebounding. So we all had to make more of a commitment to hit the boards, and other guys had to step up in scoring. Kevin Kluse came on, and he did a great job of scoring that year. Mel Utley, Frankie Alasia, who was a freshman, he came on towards the end of the season. Ed Searcy was a great rebounder. So it was almost okay. Well, we're missing a lot, but we have to pull it all together. Again, no change in the flow. We wanted to still get up and down the floor with the same style, but other people had to chip in. And I remember the my final year, I scored a pretty good chunk of points, but I also averaged like 12 rebounds a game.
Yes, you did.
Um,
12
so
rebounds.
that was important that contributing scoring wise was one thing, but also rebounding was important too.
I know at one point, it still may be true, Billy. I know you're being really modest here in this whole conversation, but you averaged 24.7 points a game, which may still be the St. John's record for points per year, per game per year.
The good news and the bad news is that it's still there, but it's over 50 years. So that's kind of the bad news of that one.
um, so you don't have Mel Davis, but like you said, Mel Utley's a great player. I remember Kevin Kluse, what a great outside shooter he was. Frankie Alasia, Beaver Smith. Had you guys had Mel Davis, I always think that may have been the greatest St. John's team in my lifetime since I started watching St. John's basketball, which was the mid 60s. I can't talk about before the mid 60s, but had you guys had Mel Davis, that may have been just an awesome, awesome team.
Yeah, I mean our assets would have been pretty strong, and and everyone understood that he had a serious injury, and he had it at the end of the season. So most likely, he was not going to come back. But the other interesting thing is a lot of people didn't know how good we were because our senior year, if you didn't watch us play, we only had one game on TV. So in today's world, every game is on TV. We had one game on TV, and that was against Providence at the end of the season. So if people didn't see us play, they didn't know how good we were.
So, you guys, by the way, you guys are in the Holiday Festival that year, and you win the Holiday Festival. So talk about, and you beat South Carolina, which was a damn good team. Um,
Well, we
talk about,
also beat Michigan I mean, we beat some really good teams in that tournament. And the Coach Mulzoff had this routine. I don't know whether he was on Broadway during prior to the holiday festival, but he had this Don Quixote Impossible Dream song that he used to play in the locker room before our tournament. And he goes, "This would be the impossible dream if we could pull out winning the holiday festival." And, that used to play. He used to have a recording of this thing in the locker room before those games. So, by the time we played South Carolina in the championship game, it was more or less, let's just win this thing so we don't have to keep listening to that song. So, that was motivation in more than one way.
that's a great song, though.
Yeah. So no
um,
one was anticipating we would win that. So it actually was quite fitting.
um, I'm trying to think. So he had played for the coach of South Carolina, Frank McGuire, when McGuire coached St. John's back in the late 40s, early 50s. Did that mean anything to Coach Malzoff to kind of coach against him and then to win against him?
Yeah, and we knew that. And so that was an added impetus for us to win. There were really two factors. We would have loved, we would love to win that game because of his relationship with the coach. But it was also a lot of the kids on the South Carolina team were from New York,
Right.
and they were highly ranked. I don't think we were expected to win that game either. So that was a sweet win because for Coach Mulzoff to win with McGuire on the other side, and for us to win because most of the kids on that team were from the New York City area.
Yeah. Um, any other memories of that season before we get to the NCAA tournament? Any other memories, games, practices, anything that stands out? I mean, you have a whole bunch of new players on that team.
Yeah, I would say what I remember most was the fact that I think we went on a 15, maybe 15 game winning streak. We lost like two games early in the season, but then we went on this win streak, and I think we were ranked like 8 or 9 in the country. So we really had a great patch of winning and winning some really good games against good teams. And that set us up coming down the stretch. We lost a heartbreaking game to Providence
Right.
towards the end of the season to Ernie D and company. Um, and then that set us up going into the NCAA.
Right. So going into that Providence game, you guys were ranked number 11 in the nation. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty heavy stuff. Um,
And I think Providence was probably ranked higher than we were, would be my guess.
I don't know how you ended the season ranked, but I mean, obviously you don't have Mel Davis, and the team really does well. Um, any other memories before we get to the NCAA tournament?
Um, yeah, I just think the whole season was really based on overperformance. We were probably not expected to do as well as we did. And so we would just, I wouldn't call it a Cinderella season, but, we really outperformed. And, and again, this is Coach Mulzoff's third season. And again, we're playing all of these teams with highly ranked quality coaches. Michigan, I think, had Johnny Orr as the coach, Ray Danford up in Syracuse. So we're not playing a lot of teams that are so-so. We're getting through the schedule. We're doing really well, and we're beating, fairly high quality teams.
By the way, you're right. Providence was ranked number 6 going into that game against you
Yeah.
guys. Um, so, so I love as a fan, I love the way you guys played. I love the up and down, and it was clear that was different than the way Coach Carnesecca coached the games. But there was one thing that I thought Molzoff did differently than Carnesecca that I liked what Carnesecca did better, and let me tell you what that was. I always, in the 5 years that he was there, I always felt that a player who started as a soph maybe didn't play as much. Junior year played more. Senior year got much more playing time. So in your senior year, Larry Jenkins starts off. He's a senior now. He's gotten better every year. Um, and then as time goes on during the season, he's playing less. Frank is playing more. And I don't want to get into who's the better player, and this is the first year the freshmen are allowed to play. I always thought Carnesecca was kind of true to his seniors in that he would give them the time because they worked their way up. I thought by playing Alasia as a freshman over Jenkins, who had kind of worked his way up, paid his dues, that to me was disappointing, I thought. And I thought that was a difference between him and Coach Carnesecca. And again, I'm not trying to get into who was the better player, but I kind of felt for Jenkins. I remember that year. And again, I'm thinking about my memories all those years ago.
Yeah, and at that point too, I guess the way I would look at it is I was a sophomore and I was getting plenty of time as a sophomore in a system where if Coach Carnesecca was there, I probably wouldn't have gotten, I don't really know if I would have gotten into games if I were, a freshman going into sophomore year with Coach Carnesecca. Well, my playing would be limited because that was just his style. You know, I don't know whether he just didn't feel as if players were ready. They were grooming them, and by junior and senior year, you get the more and more time. I think Coach Mulzoff was of the approach, okay, whoever can play the style, we're going with. And even though Larry was a great player and he had, this is his fourth year of playing for Mulzoff, he started off and probably mid-season, then his minutes probably were reduced with Frankie coming on.
Right. Yeah. So those are the two differences I remember: style of play and how you treat kind of your upperclassmen versus your lowerclassmen. Um, so you guys make the NCAA tournament. How big is that for you? Are you guys like thrilled, or is it, hey, we were in the NIT, it's not a big deal? Um,
No, we're thrilled to make it, finally making it. We're playing University of Penn. Um, so again, a team that has, I think, three or four uh, future NBAers on it. So we didn't care so much. We just, knew we made it finally, and it's about time. I think we pretty much knew coming down the stretch that our loss to Providence towards the end of the season. I mean, I think that took a lot of wind out of our sail because we had that game. And I don't want to say anything about the referees, but there was a very questionable call at the end of the game, which did not go our way. And if that did go our way, we would have won that game. And that really would have propelled us into the NCAA. But that loss to Ernie D and Dick Gavitt's Providence team was we had them and it just got away. So then, okay, great game. It's the only TV game of that year again. And it's amazing, too, that there has to be 50 million people who were at that game who said, I was at that game. And, well, you probably watched it on TV, but to this day, people will say to me, I remember watching that game against Providence and on TV. I said, well, that was the only one. So, and it was a fabulous game. So now we got into the NCAA. We're all excited, and now we're going down to play at William and Mary, and that's the site of our game. For me, we go to practice before the game at William and Mary, and right away, like, what the heck is the court? The court was a rubberized surface, and we never played on a like a rubberized surface floor. This was new and supposedly. So we're practicing. You dribble the ball, you don't hear anything. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is really odd. So right off the bat, it's like, why did they pick this location for an NCAA game? I'm sure Penn probably didn't like it either. But that's where we were, and we had a very tough game against Penn, and that was a loss.
and you lose by 1 point. It must have been a close game. I mean, it must have been a tight game all the way.
It was a very tough game. They were well prepared. We were prepared for them. With us losing, it helped Chuck Daly in his career as the coach of UPenn. So obviously he was, a quality coach, and his team was well prepared for us. And it really came down to almost a last second shot that we didn't make.
So basically, that's the end of your St. John's basketball career is over. Um, are you guys like devastated? I mean, what's the feeling like?
Yeah, I think we were kind of crushed on that one because we had a great season. We deserved to be there. Um, you know, all players always have that theory. If you lose by 40, okay, we got thumped.
Right.
If you lose by one and you have the last shot of the game and it doesn't go for you, is it tougher to take? I would say for sure. And so we were right there to advance. And if I recall, if we did advance, we would have been playing Providence again.
Gotcha. By the way, did you take that last shot?
I did not.
Okay. Do you remember who took?
So
Do you remember who took it?
I think Frankie Alasia was driving to the basket and he found himself right in the middle of the lane, wide open. So up it went, and I think it hit the rim, bounced around, and didn't go for us.
Did you guys have a timeout before that? Was there a play called for that?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I don't really
Uh,
recall. I just recall like, oh boy, okay, we had a shot, and just didn't go our way.
all right. So 2 days later, after that game, Coach Mulzoff resigns. St. John's offers him to renew his contract. He doesn't take it. I found some old news articles, some of the reasons he talked about. Were you guys shocked? I mean, you're young. You know, he's an older guy, as coaches are when you're young. Even though he wasn't an old guy, everyone seems older when you're young. Um, were you guys shocked, disappointed, or is like, all right, we're on to the next phase of our lives? It's not something we're really going to think about.
Um, yeah, I think that was odd, more than anything else. Don't know the inner workings of that discussion.
Did you keep in touch with him afterwards?
Sure. So I would, Chuck McCauley was his assistant. I would see him occasionally. Um, but Coach Mulzoff went back to the island. I think he was coaching at St. Joe's College on the island. So I would keep in tabs with him. And even later in life, when I was working at St. John's doing alumni relations work, I'd see him in Florida, and he'd come to some of our events down in Florida when we would get together with the alumni base.
Did,
So, yeah, and then that's where he wound up living until he passed away.
Sounds like he started the athletic program at St. Joseph's in Long Island. I think he coached there. He was the athletic director. And he's in their Hall of Fame. So it sounds like he wound up having a nice career after that. I know he coached in high school after St. John's again. Um, did he did he have any regrets about his decision to leave St. John's?
Never came up in conversation.
He certainly deserves to be remembered. I think three really successful years, really enjoyable teams to watch, and listen, all St. John's fans would always love to see St. John's win an NCAA title. There's no question about it. Um, so every season, you kind of feel, gee, I wish we could have gone a little further. I think we could have gone a little further. But at the end of the day, it's so rare for a school to win an NCAA championship, and the record of achievement continued for many years after him. But he was a big part of keeping that tradition going. So I kind of feel
I,
bad in some ways that maybe he's not remembered as much as he should be.
yeah, and I think that's a shame. He had a big challenge to take over the program when he did, and his numbers are certainly successful numbers. So, I think the other problem is that Coach Carnesecca is such a huge name and a huge personality. Sometimes, because of that, things just get blurred in the history books.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Really, it really has.
Fun to talk about the old days,
All right. Thanks, Billy.
the good old days.
You bet. You bet.
Okay,
All right. Take care.
take care. We'll see you.